Hi, boys and girls. We're going to have some fun with decimals today. We have been doing a lot of work with decimals. We have been reading and writing decimals and rounding decimals and also adding and subtracting decimals. So we're going to bring a little bit of our work together with a really fun game today. So this is called Rolling Around with Decimals. And so this first screen, of course, you can put your name, and then this next screen, it has a chart. And so we have different place values here. We have the ones place, the tenths place, and the hundredths place. And what do you notice that is in between our whole numbers and our decimals? That's right, we have a decimal point. So let's go ahead and get started on our fun game. And so what we're going to do is roll some dice, and because we don't have dice here, we're going to use some virtual dice. So all you have to do is click this dice button, and I'm going to roll 3 dice here. Okay, so I rolled a 3, a 5, and a 4. I'm going to write those digits down. A 3, a 5, and a 4. So I'm going to make the largest number possible. And so I know that in my ones place is going to be the greatest value. So I'm going to put the 5. So I've already used the 5. And then in my tenths place is the next place that has the greatest value. So I'm going to put my 4. And then in the hundredths, I'm going to put 3. So now I have 5 and 43 hundredths. Okay, and so I started out with 50. Get my pen back. I started out with 50, and now I'm going to subtract 5 and 43 hundredths. Okay, so this is almost 6, right? Or I could say it's 5. So I would expect, if I round that, it's closer to 5 than 6. So if I take just 5 away, so I can kind of estimate that this is going to be about 45. Okay, so that's going to help us in estimating. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract this. And I could use different tools. You could use manipulatives, you could use a number line, or you could also use the algorithm, the subtraction algorithm. And I know that we have already worked on that. So a common mistake might be, 3 minus 0 here, but it's not. I'm actually taking that 5 and 43 hundredths away from 50. So I'm going to go ahead and do some renaming here. I'm going to change pen colors so you can kind of tell what I'm doing. Because I need some hundredths there. And I know now that 10 minus 3 is 7. So if I'm taking 10 hundredths away from 3 hundredths, I'm left with 7 hundredths. And now I can take away my tenths. And a really important thing was I'm lining up those decimals so that all my place values are in the same place. So now I'm taking away my whole numbers. So that is 9 ones minus 5 ones is 4 ones. And that is 44, can't forget my decimal, and 57 hundredths. Was that about 45? It's really close to it, isn't it? So now my new total here is 44 and 57 hundredths. So the object of the game here is in all of these to get the lowest number, okay? So now my dice here only goes to 6. So if you want it to go to 9 there, I'm going to roll the 10-sided dice. Oh, I got a 5. So that's my first digit is a 5. And then my next digit is an 8, a 5 and an 8. And then the next one is a 6. So a 5, an 8, and a 6. 5, an 8, and a 6. 5, an 8, and a 6. Now remember, I'm trying to get the lowest number possible, so I'm going to try to use these digits to build the largest number. So my ones place has the greatest value, so I'm going to use my 8 in the ones place. So 8 ones, and then my tenths has the next greatest value here. And so I'm going to use my 6 and then my 5. Now, I'm going to use this eraser so I have more room here. So now I have my new number, 8 and 65 hundredths. And I'm going to subtract that from my new total here. So I have 44 and 57 hundredths, and I'm going to subtract 8 and 65 hundredths. So let's do a little estimating here. Gotta make sure that looks like a decimal point. Okay, so that is about 45. And this is about 9. So if I were going to subtract that, so I know if I were to subtract 10, then it would be 35. But I'm only subtracting 9, so that is 36. So I'm going to expect that to be about 36. So let's do our subtraction. So notice how I lined these decimals up. That way I am subtracting these hundredths from hundredths, tenths from tenths, and my ones from my ones. Okay, so 7 hundredths minus 5 hundredths is 2 hundredths. Oh, and a common mistake would do 6 minus 5, but it's not. It's 5 tenths minus 6 tenths. So I'm going to have to go and do some renaming. Here, I'm going to change my pen color here. And I'm going to use some of these ones here and make 15 tenths. So that is, let me change my color back. 9, and I know that because 9 plus 6 is 15. Now I'm going to take 8 ones away from 3 ones, but I need to borrow or rename these some 10s into 1s. So I know that 8 plus 2 is 10, and I need to get to 13. So 3 more, so that would be 5. Oh, didn't change pen colors back, did I? Okay, and then remember to bring my decimal point down. So my answer now is 35 and 92 hundredths. And that is close to my estimate, but another way that I can check and prove my answer is I can take my answer here and add, because remember that addition and subtraction are inverse properties of each other, so I can always prove my subtraction by adding. So 5 and 2 is 7. 9 plus 6 is 15. I'm going to put my decimal point. 8 and 1 is 9, plus 5 more is 4, 14. And 3 and 1 more is 4. Oh, look. So I know if 44 and 57 hundredths minus 8 and 65 hundredths, if that is 35 and 92 hundredths, then if I add 35 and 92 hundredths to 8 and 65 hundredths, I should get 44 and 57 hundredths, and I do. And so that's another way to prove your answer. Okay, so now after subtracting those, I know I had 30, 35, and 92 hundredths. Great. So I'm wondering if you, when you play, if you can get a lower number than mine. Okay, so you ready? Let's play it again. We're going to do it one more time. And let's roll some dice. So I want to do the 10-sided dice. Oh, a 9. Ooh, that's a nice number. So I have a 9. And let's do it again. A 7. That's a nice large number. And one more time, a 3. So I rolled a 9, a 7, and a 3. Let me write those numbers down. So I want to build the largest number possible, and actually in that order looks pretty good, doesn't it? So I could have 9 ones, 7 tenths, and 3 hundredths. Okay, and so let's subtract those numbers. Let me erase this so I have lots of room. So now I know my total was, let me get my pen back, 35 and 92 hundredths. And now I'm going to subtract 9 and 73 hundredths. Now, I know that's about almost 36, and this is almost 10. And so if I have 36 minus 10, then I should get about 26. So let's see if we do that. Notice how I line these up, these decimals up. That way my tenths, I'm going to be subtracting from my tenths, and my hundredths from my hundredths. So let's go ahead and do that. And so remember, a common mistake here might be to think 3 minus 2, but I'm actually taking 3 hundredths from that. So I'm going to rename this so that I have more hundredths. And so 12 minus 3 is 9. And I'm actually taking hundredths away, right? So now I'm taking tenths. 8 tenths minus 7 tenths is 1 tenth. And I can also check myself by adding. So I know 9 plus 3 is 12, 7 plus 1 is 8. Great job. Now, I'm taking 9 away from 35. So I'm going to use some sense here making. If I take 10 away, then I'd have 25. But I'm only taking 9 away. So I would have 26. So I can check myself again. 9 plus 6 is 15. And so 9 plus 6 is 15. Yes. And then 2 and that 10, one more from that 10 would be 35. And look, that's really close to my estimate. So again, if I added, let me get my red pen here. If I get this and add them together, I can prove my work there. And I kind of did that as I went, didn't I? So now my new total is 26 and 19 hundredths. So the goal here is to hopefully by the end get the lowest number possible. So you can keep going. And you can actually, on the next screen, start fresh from 50. So roll around with some decimals. Have fun, boys and girls.